This is Barbarossa, an ancient Ottoman admiral. This is also Barbarossa, a climb in a crag in Turkey. In the 16th century, the name Barbarossa struck fear into the hearts of sailors across the Mediterranean. Hayreddin Barbarossa, the legendary admiral of the Ottoman fleet, was a master of the seas, an unmatched strategist, a fearless warrior, and a symbol of strength and unity. Like its namesake, this climb is bold, unrelenting, and demands courage and strategy. Just kidding, it's a 5C+, but it is a super cool climb. It's also the climb that saved my trip to Geyikbayırı. This climbing trip to Turkey will always hold a special place in my heart. It's the first international climbing trip I've ever done, but this being my first trip, I was also naive in many ways. I think I went to Turkey expecting breakthroughs, maybe even to send my hardest ever grade. Instead, all I found was doubt. I found every climb difficult. I got tripped up by the easiest of grades, and every route seemed to have this impossible crux that completely stalled any progress. I will admit this triggered some climbing existential dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that I didn't belong here. I mean, who travels to Turkey to climb 5As? Imposter syndrome hit hard on this trip, whispering, shouting that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't a real climber. And I would love to tell you that this story has a sweet redemption arc, but the truth is I still feel a little bit like that. And I think I need to do a lot of work to discover what joy and success in climbing looks like for me. But this climb, Barbarossa, breathed new life into my Turkey climbing trip. It was an opportunity to forget about what I couldn't do and focus on what I could. And it gave me a glimpse of what climbing might look like for me in the future. When a route is so iconic that it becomes synonymous with the crag itself, it's usually because it stands out, either visually or in movement style. And that is definitely true for Barbarossa. It has a sharp slabby start that turns into an easy approach to the main feature on this crag, a tunnel, I guess. You use both sides of the chimney-like feature to stem your way into a hole. And after this crux move, the climb narrows into a knobbly, dark, textured tunnel. You sort of wiggle your way up, and then at the top, there's this hole. And through the hole, you can see the snow-capped mountain in the distance. But then you have to climb through the hole. You have to do a lean of faith, getting both legs through the hole, leaning back into the open air, and then clipping the last clip at the anchors above your head. I didn't have high hopes for my ability to climb Barbarossa, because that's just where my head was at. But did I want to try it? Hell yes, it looked amazing. The first time I worked the route, I had a pretty, I want to call it a transcendent experience. The route was in that sweet spot where it's challenging enough for me to get completely engrossed in, just beyond my current ability, but so close that there's always hope. And the view of the mountain through the hole took my breath away. It was a stark reminder that I was on the rock, in a foreign country, and climbing through a weird tunnel thing. And the lean through the hole was absurd and scary enough that you have to laugh. From both disbelief and relief after climbing out of it. It's a fabulous climb. So of course, I had to work it and see if I could send it. I worked the crux until I was so tired I couldn't do the easy bits anymore. I climbed out of that hole so many times. Out of that hole when I was scared and wanted nothing more to do than to get down and be done with this business. And I climbed through that hole when I was triumphant and proud of myself. On our very last day, I had my send attempt. I really gave it a good go. I passed the crux, seeing all of my carefully worked out moves come into their own. I moved into the tunnel, one last move before I could rest. And then I fell. I felt the familiar rush of disappointment, the loud voice in my head. But as I rested on the rope, I shook out and I got ready to climb out of that hole one last time. I realized that I wasn't really disappointed. I felt proud, Of course it isn't about the send, it never is. That climb gave me everything I needed. A puzzle to solve, a challenge to test me, the best view, and a scary last move that made me feel alive. And above all, it gave me so much fun. Admiral Barbarossa's legacy wasn't built on a single victory, but on navigating uncharted waters and returning to the fight again and again. I didn't send Barbarossa, but in failing to send, I found something far more valuable, a reason to keep climbing. Imposter syndrome comes when I anchor my worth to external definitions of success, and when I adopt other people's reasons for climbing. But maybe climbs like Barbarossa can teach me why I want to climb, what's in it for me. What that turns out to be, we'll just have to wait and see.